So welcome everybody to this latest video 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going over the GCSE Maths higher topic of probability and Venn diagrams. Now as always I'll include the questions that we go through in this video in a link for you to download and have an attempt at before watching this video so you can test your prior knowledge. Now before we get started working through some exam style questions related to probability and in particular Venn diagrams, there's some important aspects that you need to know in order to make these questions a little bit easier. Now before working through these questions you need to make sure that you are fully aware of all the parts of the Venn diagram, including why we have a box round all of those circles. You also need to know the notation associated with Venn diagrams and also know how to complete a Venn diagram when given information. Now there are always going to be some close links between probability, ratios, percentages, fractions and equations when completing this Venn diagram that you've got in this question before it being connected to some form of proportion or probability questions. Now links to all aspects of these I'll include in the description below, as going through them in this video will make this video almost 3 hours long. So if you're needing any help with any of those aspects, all you need to do is just have a look in the description and click on the relevant link in the description. Now before we get started working through these questions, a little reminder that all of these questions are available for you to download simply by click on the link in the description. So looking at question 1, it says that a survey of 1,000 university students is carried out. The students are asked whether they live on the university campus, which is represented by the circle of U, and whether they own a car, which is represented by the circle of C. So the results are that 79 students live on the university campus, also own a car. 401 students live on the university campus but do not own a car, and 349 students own a car. And the first part of this question is asking us to complete the Venn diagram. So looking at the Venn diagram, typically speaking, it tends to fall in the order that it's written. Now we know that there are 1,000 students altogether, so all the numbers in the 4 sections need to add up to 1,000. Now the next bit of information says that 79 students live on the university campus, which is represented with U, and own a car, which is C. So U and C, which is the middle bit, is going to be 79. So that's the first bit done. Now the next bit of information says that 401 students live on the university campus but do not own a car. Now the bit that is U but not C is basically this bit here. So this bit here is going to be 401. And then it then says 349 students own a car. So that means that all of this circle of C needs to add up to 349. So to work out this section here, it's going to be 349 minus 79, which gives me an answer of 270. So then using the information that I know that all 4 sections need to add up to 1,000, I can then work out what this number here is by doing 1,000 minus 401 minus 79 minus 270, which gives me an answer of 250. So what I've done is I've then completed the Venn diagram. Now for 1b, it then says a student is chosen at random. What is the probability that they do not live on the university campus and do not own a car? Well, the probability that they don't live on campus and don't own a car is this number that's outside of the 2 circles. So that's 250 divided by the total number, which is 1,000, and I can simplify that to give me 1/4. Now because it's obviously, it also does say to give your answer in its simplest form. So if I did leave the answer is 250 over 1,000, that would only get me 1 mark. I need to make sure that I'm simplifying the fraction to give me 1/4. Then moving on to question 2, it says that Jenny has 100 soft toys. There are teddy bears, which is represented by the T proportion, and some toys are damaged, which is D. The ratio of damaged toys to not damaged is 1:9. 70% of the damaged toys are teddy bears and the ratio of teddy bears to not teddy bears is in the ratio of 3 to 2. And it says use this information to complete the Venn diagram. So first things first, we know that all 4 sections equals 100. Now looking at the first bit of information, it says the ratio of damaged toys to not damaged is in the ratio of 1 to 9. So that means if I just write damaged to not damaged is in the ratio of 1 to 9. Now a toy can either be damaged or not damaged, there's no in between. So that means if I then just label this as 1x and 9x, then basically what that means is that let me just write that again. So what we know then is that 1x plus 9x must equal 100. So therefore 10x equals 100, so x equals 10. So that means how many damaged toys are there? Well, the damaged toys is therefore going to equal 1x, which is 10, and the not damaged is going to equal 90. So from this, I know that this green circle is basically going to be 10. So all of that circle, so all of this is 10. Now it then says, and the rest is going to be non-damaged is going to equal 90. So basically everything outside of that green circle is going to be 90. Now the next bit of information there says 70% of the damaged toys are teddy bears. So then here, what I've then got is 70% of the damaged toys. Now I know that the damaged toys, there are 10. So it's 70% of 10, which is 7, are teddy bears. So that means that this number that's going to go in the middle, that's damaged and a teddy bear, is going to be 7. Now if everything in that green circle has got to be 10 and the middle bit is 7, then that means that this bit here must be 3. So the only thing that's left for me to do is to work out the other 2 sections. Now I know from the other 2 sections, going back to this diagram here, that if this bit here is 7 and 3, then all of the outside bit, which is what I've got left, has to add up to 90. Now it then says that the ratio of teddy bears to not teddy bears is 3 to 2. So I know that I've got 7 teddy bears here. So in terms of the teddies to not teddies is in the ratio of 3 to 2. Now again, how many teddy bears are there and not teddy bears? Well, we know that there's 3 parts. So all in all, we know that 5 parts equals 100, because again a toy can either be a teddy or not a teddy. So then if 5 parts equals 100, then 3 parts is going to equal 60, and 2 parts is going to equal 40. So the toys that aren't teddies are going to be 40, and the probability that it is going to be a teddy is going to be 60. Now if 7 is already here, then that means that, and all of this circle needs to add up to equal 60, then that means that this part here is going to be 60 minus 7, which is 53. And then what I can then do is, because I know all 4 sections add up to 100, I can then work out what this section here is by doing 100 minus 53 minus 7 minus 3, which gives me an answer of 37. So there is my completed Venn diagram. Then moving on to question 3, it says on the Venn diagram, shade the region that's of the area represented by not A. Now not A is basically everything that's not in circle A. So it's going to be all of this. and that there is not A. And just make sure that your shading doesn't go anywhere near that circle, but right to the edge, like so. Then says for B, shade the region that is represented by A or B. Now for this, what you want to do is you want to shade in A, which is this bit here. Again, just ignore the neatness, hopefully you get the gist. So that's my A. I then want to shade in B, which is this bit here. Now when it's A or B, so in other words, when it's or, it's basically all the shaded bits that I want. So what I then need to do is just basically just go over everything that is shaded, regardless of whether it's yellow or pink or both. I just want all shaded area, which will look something like this. Then says for 3C, which of these represents the shaded region? Well, here I've shaded in A and not B, or A or not B rather. So that's going to be this region here. Now, one way to answer these questions is to think about what do each of these represent. So if I wanted to represent not B, and this is B and this is A, then not B is all of this. If I wanted A and B and not A or not B, so not A and B, well, A and B is this bit, so then the bit that's wanted is going to be everything else. So that's going to be this region here, which doesn't represent the graph. And for this one, not A or B, well, A or B is this bit here, so not that will be all of this green bit here. So that doesn't match up with the graph. This bit, that for the second option, that's the blue bit, and for the first one, that's the blue bit as well. So as you can see, even by process of elimination, the correct answer is going to be the last one. Moving on to question 4, it says that there are 230 students in a school, 147 take French, 94 take Spanish, and 15 students do not take French or Spanish. And the question is asking us to complete the Venn diagram. So let's have a look at what we know. So we know that all 4 sections, let me just make sure we've got that better view there. So we know that all 4 sections need to add up to 230. Now we know that this first circle of F has got 147 students. We know that the whole circle of S is 94 students, and we know that 15 students don't take French or Spanish, so the outside number is going to be 15. Now the bit that we kind of need to know is the middle bit, because you always start by completing a Venn diagram by starting in the middle. Now this bit here, if the middle bit is X, then we know that this bit here is going to be 147 minus X. And we also know that if the whole entire circle of S is 94, that this bit here, excluding the middle bit, is going to be 94 minus X. Now using this information that we know that all 4 sections need to add up to 230, so what we've got is we've got 147 minus X plus X plus 94 minus X plus 15 equals 230. So now if I expand the brackets, I get 147 minus X plus 94 minus X plus 15 equals 230. So then if I join these up, so 147 plus 94 plus 15 gives me an answer of 256. So 256 minus X equals 230. So then doing a bit of rearranging, I get that X equals 26. So once I know that X equals 26, then I can replace this X with 26. I can then replace that blue bit with 26 and this with 26. So I can then work out what the individual parts are going to be. So that one's going to be 147 minus 26, which is 121, and 94 minus 26 is 68. So as you can see there, I've now completed my Venn diagram. I personally would not rub out any of my working. I'm just doing that just so that we're not getting confused. Then moving on to 4b, it says a student is chosen at random. Work out the probability that they are French and not S. So if I start by highlighting F, well, F is everything in this yellow highlighted region here, and not S is everything that is outside of that circle of S. Which is this bit here. Ignore the dodgy shading. Now, because it's and, I want the bits that's shaded in twice. That's shaded by both colours. Now, the bits that's shaded in twice is basically this region here. So it's going to be 121 over the total, which is 230. And then I just need to make sure, does that simplify? No, it doesn't. So there is my final answer. So now moving on to question 5, it says the Venn diagram shows information about stamp collection. We know that all the numbers inside all 4 sections need to add up to 132, and that N represents the stamps in the 19th century and C represents all the commemorative stamps. And it says that a stamp is chosen at random, it is commemorative, work out the probability that is from the 19th century. Now the first thing we need to do in this particular question is find the value of X. Now we know that all the stamps, all the 4 sections add up to 132. So then X plus 2X minus 11 plus X plus 5 plus 38 equal 132. So then expanding the brackets, we get X plus 2X minus 11 plus X squared plus 5X plus 38 equal 132. It slowly started to look like a quadratic, so if we neaten that left hand side, we get x squared plus 7x or 8x actually, 8x, and then we've got minus 11 plus 38, which is plus 27 equals 132. We then need to make it equal to 0, so we end up with x squared plus 8x minus and 27 minus 132 gives us 105. Now we then need to factorize this, in which this does factorize, and it's going to factorize to give us a value of x is minus 7 and x is plus 15. Or you could use a quadratic formula, so in other words x equals 7 or minus 15. Now x can't equal a negative number, so therefore x must equal 7. So then if I replace 7 into the Venn diagram, x equals 7 into the Venn diagram, then this becomes 7. 2 times 7 is 14, take away 11 is 3. Then here I've got 7 times 12, which is 84. And there I've got my completed Venn diagram. Now the next thing for me then to do is to answer the question. So it says that a stamp is chosen at random. We know that it's C, so we're only looking in this yellow circle. And the question is saying what's the probability that it's also 19th century? So it's going to be an answer of 3 out of a total of 87. Then moving on to question 6, it says that the Venn diagram shows information about some cars recently sold. E represents electric cars, G represents grey cars, and it says a car is chosen at random. Show that the probability of not E and G is less than the probability of E or G, not E or G. So first things first, let's have a look at what these probabilities actually mean. So let's go for not E and G. So if I just draw just a little sketch of the Venn diagram, and I've got E and G. Well, not E is everything that's outside of E. and G is this bit here. Now because it's and, I want the bits that's shaded in twice. So the bits that's shaded in twice is 16. So this is going to be 16 out of the total, which is, if I just quickly work that out, 7 plus 2 plus 16 plus 55 is out of 80. So 16 over 80, which can be simplified as 1 over 5. Then to work out the probability of E or G and not of that, well, if I do my little Venn diagram, E and G, well, E is this bit here, G is this bit here, and so this represents also one all shaded area. Now because it says not, then what I actually want is the white area. Now if I go back to my original Venn diagram, the white area is 55, so that's going to be, this one here is going to be 55 over 80, which I can simplify dividing both numbers by 5 as 11 over 16. So therefore, as 1 over 5 is smaller than 11 over 16, the probability of not E and G is less than the probability of E or G of not of that. And there we go. Then moving on to our last question, it says that a Venn diagram shows information about 200 smartphones recently sold. F represents smartphones with a fingerprint scanner and G represents smartphones with 5G. The probability that a smartphone with a fingerprint scanner is chosen at random also has 5G is 7 over 12. One of the phones is chosen at random. Work out the probability that the phone is not 5G and does not have fingerprint scanner. So in other words, it's asking me to find Y. Now, in order to do this, what we need to do is we need to find the value of X. Now, we know that there are 200 smartphones, so all four sections need to add up to 200. So moving on to this, what we know is using this information here, that we know that a probability of a smartphone with a fingerprint scanner, which is this bit here, also has 5G, which is this here, is going to equal to 7 over 12. So the probability that it's a fingerprint scanner is 65 plus X, and the probability that it also is also 5G is going to be X, and we've been told that that probability equals 7 over 12. Now hopefully by writing it like this you can see that it's going to be an algebraic fraction. Now one thing I'm just going to do, I'm just going to change this X and 65 so it's just the other way around. Now because I've got a fraction equals a fraction, I can cross multiply. So what I've got is I've got 12x equals 7 multiplied by x plus 65. So if I expand the right hand side, I get 7x, and 7 times 65 is 455. And then take away the 7x, I'm left with 5x equals 455. So then x equals 455 divided by 5, which is 91. So I can then work out that this here is 91. So then I can then work out what y is going to be. So y equals 200 minus 65 minus 91 minus 23, and 200 minus 65 minus 91 minus 23 equals 21. So then to work out the probability of y, it's going to be 21 over 200, and that doesn't simplify, so there is my final answer.